something I mentioned much earlier, which is the whole idea of this building as a sort of iconic symbol of a corporation, which is something that there was an awful lot of once in New York. I mean, the Woolworth Building, the Siegel Building, Gehry House, as you mentioned, CBS. But it's something that's been largely abandoned in the last generation in favor of sort of fairly generic office space. That partly because I think corporations aren't themselves as permanent, as long-lasting as buildings sometimes. They morph, they change, they don't want to spend the money, a million reasons. Can this be thought of as a beginning of a return to the idea of a building, a seriously designed building as representing a sort of corporate icon as well as a piece of urban architecture? Anybody?
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, I don't know, how consciously was that part of the design process?
Well, it was consciously a building for Barry. And it was consciously a building for Georgetown and their partnership,
Right.
which was kind of amazing in itself. And I think that each one of them weighed in. I mean, Marshall Rose is a detail freak. He goes crazy. He and I out-detail each other. I mean, I would worry about things like calling me, or he was already had a note about it that he was going to call me about, and we would just drive each other nuts with things like that. It was about the glass and the dogs and everything. And he was talking to Barry constantly, more than I was. So it was. Barry didn't say, "Give me a brand new building." He didn't ask for that. But he clearly picked through the models, and my process opened the door for him to say things like the white, which scared the hell out of me when he said it's got to look like that white model. And he was damn determined what it did. But I think it was and on all the people's parts, it was trying to see how much you could get out of a building that was in the genre of a spec office building. Because regardless of how successful they all are, the intent was not to say it was quite the opposite. That's why if you go up into the interiors, they're not flashy, and I didn't do them because there was an intent to say this is a spec building. We're going to have a lot of people do things, So it wasn't like so it was treated more